future classic, the unhinged woman behavior that we stand in this channel. Hello, welcome back to my booktube channel, Read with Shireen, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I have had a fantastic reading year this year, and I have already read 35 books as of 21st of June. This is the day I'm filming this video. So without any further ado, let's get started with the questions. The first question is, favorite book you have read so far this year? Now, it's a very difficult question because I just have so many books that I've read and loved this year. But if I have to choose two, and yes, I couldn't narrow it down to one. The first one is going to be Broken Wings by Khalil Gibran. If you do not know who Khalil Gibran is, he is a Lebanese author and he is very popular. I came to know about this from, I think, this booktube channel called Emmy. She is a fantastic booktuber. You should definitely follow her. And this is actually a collection of all of his works, or at least most of his works. And I read The Broken Wings first. This was my first Khalil Gibran, and let me just tell you, this is amazing. Wings follows this love story between this man and this young woman in Beirut in Lebanon, and it's about this love story which is doomed from the beginning. They know from the first meeting that they're not going to end up together, and it's about how, in spite of knowing the odds are stacked against them, they still love each other. The writing is very lyrical, very poetic. The second book that I have to talk about, and this is a book that made me ugly cry, so you're going to see this book come up a lot in this tag, and that is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. Maggie O'Farrell is literally one of my favorite authors now, and Hamnet is about Shakespeare's family. So we follow his wife Agnes and their children and how they deal with the death of Shakespeare's son Hamlet, who Shakespeare did name his famous play Hamlet after his son who had passed away. And you basically know almost the plot, like you know Hamlet is gonna die, but when it happens it just hits you and it wrecks you from within. And the way that the subject matter is dealt with, and the way that you see all the family members, including Shakespeare, just being unable to grapple with the death of this really young child in their life. And also it talks a lot, and it talks about how everyone is sort of dealing with this grief very differently. And yeah, this is one of my favorite books, and it is just amazing. And also the character of Agnes is like my favorite character ever. She is so beautiful, so mystical, and she has this charm, but the way that she's fighting to keep her children alive, it's amazing. And yeah, so definitely highly recommending these two books for you. And the second question is the best sequel you have read this year, and my answer to that is none. I do not read a lot of fantasy series or books that have sort of sequels, so yeah, because of that I don't really have any sequels. And third question is new release you have not read from this year but want to, and that has to be Bandit Queen by Parini Shroff. Now that I'm saying it, I don't know if this book was released in 2023, but the Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff is a book which is set in rural India, where this woman is accused of killing her husband, and everybody kind of is scared of this fact. Now we don't really know if she has killed her husband or not, and she basically is like, yeah, fine, if you want to accuse me, it's cool. And everything is sort of going well until some women also come up to her and from the village and start asking her for remedies to kill their husband, which is like the unhinged woman behavior that we stand in this channel. This was longlisted for the Women's Prize for this year, and it didn't make the shortlist unfortunately, but this sounded one of the most interesting books, and also because maybe I'm Indian, it sounded like something that could actually happen in an Indian village somewhere. So yeah, I definitely want to read this book. Now the fourth question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Now I honestly do not really follow book releases as such. I only read my books through recommendations and reading the blurb and stuff, but I did find out about this book which is coming out. I don't know when it's coming out, but I heard somebody from booktube talking about this book, which is called Julia by Sandra Newman. So this book is basically 1984 from the perspective of the woman character whose name was Julia, and that just sounds very fascinating to me. I definitely think I love 1984 is one of my favorite novels, and I just want to just get into that world again and relive that world, so I'm very excited about that. And also I definitely think telling 1984 from a woman's perspective is going to change a lot of the way that initially it was told from Aurel's perspective. But I'm also very scared because it is one of my favorite books, so it can go either way. So yeah, that is one book that I'm very excited and I will definitely read. The fifth question is biggest disappointment, and I actually have an answer for this unfortunately, and the answer is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, if I'm not wrong with her pronunciation. The Convenience Store Woman is about this character who who has been working in a convenience store for many years, I think over a decade, 15 years, around that time, around this sort of a time. And while everybody sort of expected her, this convenience store, to sort of be like this first job and most people would move on to other things in their life, she is very happy and content with her work as a convenience store worker, and she doesn't really care about income or settling down or anything of that sort. And this book is basically what this book wanted to do is talk about how hustle culture is wrong. And I guess this book wants to talk about how not everybody has the same goal. Some people just want to earn enough money to live by on an everyday basis, and I can understand it from that perspective. But I feel like the way that she wrote this book, it just made the main character's life sound very difficult and just very sad. So I don't know if she was trying to make this life sound like, okay, this is something that other people want to live, or if she was trying to make it sound like it's a miserable life and she should actually move on from this. Like, it was written in a way that it just didn't do what it was trying to do, and so it was a very disappointing read. And I didn't really care about the cat. I didn't really care what happened to her at the end. So yeah, that's one of my biggest disappointments of the year. Unfortunately, BookTube seems to love this book. The next question is biggest surprise this year, and this is not actually what you think this book is going to be, but yes, this is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, before you think I love this book, I don't. I gave this book 3 stars and I found it very mid. So I don't think this book is bad, I don't think this book is good. So this book is sort of in the middle. But that is what was surprising to me, because whenever I have seen people talk about this book in BookTube, I've either seen them just raving about it, talking about it as if it's a future classic, like The Guardian mentions here, or I have seen people really dissing this book and saying this book is the worst thing to happen to BookTube or to the book community in general. And I kind of don't feel either way, so I was totally expecting to feel very strongly about this book. But after I finished this book, I was like, yeah, I'm just okay with it. Like, it's okay, it's good, it's nothing bad, but it's not anything like superb or excellent or anything of that sort. And the 7th question is favorite new author, and I've already answered this question. It is Maggie O'Farrell, and I am so excited to read all her books. But I've also heard that Hamnet was probably her best book, so I'm kind of a little scared to not like her other books as much. And the 8th question is book that made me cry. So I've already spoken about Hamlet, so I want to talk about another book that made me cry as well. And this didn't make me ugly sob, but this made me really care about the characters and sort of on the verge of crying. And that is The Hungry Tides by Amitav Ghosh. If you do not know what The Hungry Tide is, this is a book which is set in Sundarbans, which is a mangrove delta region in the state of West Bengal in India. And this is a very strange place. I won't call it a strange place, but this is geography of this place is very unique, and the people live there on exceptional circumstances. You have people, man-eating tigers, you have these really strong like ebbs and flows of tide which come on an everyday basis. And this book is set amidst that and talks about 2 primary characters. So we have Pia, who is, I don't know if her name was Pia or Priya. Priyali, yeah, her name was Priyali, and she is an American, Indian American. She comes down to do some research, some scientific research on the gangetic dolphins. And we have Kanai, who is this businessman who comes down to meet a family member. And we also have Fokir, who is a guide who takes Pia around in the Sundarban plains, and it's about how these lives intersect. And it's a very beautiful story. And in my review, I think I've written how that there are very few authors who can mix the history, geography, as well as the folklore of a place and into such a contemporary setting. And I absolutely agree that with my review. Obviously, I wrote that review, so so absolutely love this book. And the 9th question is book that made me happy. And I thought very long and hard about this, and the answer is nothing. Nothing made me happy this year, because I just love sad books. Okay, I just love sad books, and that's how I derive my joy. But if I'm talking about a book that truly was just happy as a book itself, nothing. The 10th question is what do you need to read by the end of this year? And that is a very important question. Now, for my physical TBR, I went across all of the books, and one book that I definitely need to read as soon as possible is called The 7 Moons of Mali Almeida. This was the 2022 Booker Prize winner. The Tomb of Sand is the 2022 International Booker Prize winner. I didn't really like it that much. That could possibly also be another disappointing read, even though I wasn't hating it as much as I hated The Convenience Store Woman. But The 7 Moons of Mali Almeida is probably going to be like my first Sri Lankan fiction, and this is about I think a war photographer who gets stuck in this weird place between life and death, and it is in the backdrop of the civil war of Sri Lanka. So I'm very excited to read about this. I do know the history of that place. It's quite close to India, but I do not know how this is going to handle it. So I've heard nothing but fantastic reviews about this book. So I do want to read this book. Apart from that, some books that I don't own a physical copy yet that I want to read are some memoirs. So I want to read I'm Glad My Mom Died, which I don't even need to explain what it is. I also want to read When Breath Becomes Air. I forgot the name of the author, but he is somebody who was a neurosurgeon who gets diagnosed with cancer and what happens after that. And he has actually passed away, and I'm pretty sure from what I've heard, this book, the epilogue of the book, is written by his wife. So I am prepared to cry. These are all the books that I want to read by the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Subscribe, like this video, and share if you like this. Bye.